line dies down for public comments.
We're hearing these, but we're not hearing about theirs.
Good.
Sheriff, can you hear back there?
I'm going to go and get started. Yes, sir. I'm going to call to order the joint meeting tonight with Lincoln County Board of Commissioners and the Planning Board on this third day of February of 2025. If you would, please join me and stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I make a motion
All right,
to adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Agenda is approved. We will move to the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Patton. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. The consent agenda is approved. We will move to the public hearings. Next on the agenda, first case, the Planning Board and the Board of Commissioners will hold a joint public hearing. At the conclusion of this hearing, the Planning Board will deliberate and bring a recommendation to the next meeting, which will be held February the 17th, 2025 at 6:30. At this time, I will call on Megan Gilbert to give some information concerning the zoning cases.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So tonight, we will be hearing both quasi-judicial matters and legislative matters. A legislative hearing is a forum for expressing a public opinion about a project. A quasi-judicial hearing is considered an evidentiary hearing where this board must make a finding of fact as enumerated in the Unified Development Ordinance. More importantly, these findings must be based on competent, substantial, and material evidence in the record as required by law. Anyone wishing to speak at a quasi-judicial hearing tonight must have standing and must be sworn in. I need to confirm that no board members on either board have a conflict in regards to the cases before us tonight. No member shall participate in or vote in a manner that would violate the applicant's constitutional rights to an impartial decision maker. Impermissible violations of due process include a member having a fixed opinion prior to the hearing that is not susceptible to change, any undisclosed ex parte communications prior to a quasi judicial hearing, a close familial, business, or other associational relationship with the applicant, or a financial interest of the outcome of the matter. Does any board member have such a conflict?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
After the applicant presents its information concerning the cases, individuals who have signed up will be called upon to speak and are restricted to 3 minutes per person. If you are speaking for a group, the group must be identified, and you will be given 5 minutes for that group. So Jeremiah will start. And the first case tonight is ZMA 740 Quick Trip Corporation.
Good evening, everyone. This first rezoning case, the applicant is requesting the rezoning of a 1.42 acre portion of a parcel from neighborhood business to general business. The property is located on the north side of Unity Church Road and the east side of Highway 16 Business in Catawba Springs Township. This property is also located in the Eastern Lincoln Development District overlay, and it's adjoined by property that's zoned neighborhood business, general business, industrial general, and residential single family. Land uses in this area include a mixture of industrial, business, residential, and civic uses, and this property is located in an area designated by the Lincoln County Land Use Plan as suburban commercial center, suitable for a variety of commercial uses to serve the daily needs of the surrounding neighborhoods. You have in your packet some representative examples of permitted uses under the current zoning as well as the proposed zoning district. I will mention a portion of this parcel is located within a regulated water supply watershed that does have some limitations to the impervious coverage on this site. Should they exceed 24% of the site with impervious coverage, they would need to come back to this board for a watershed special use permit for the high density option. The zoning staff is recommending approval of this request. You have our proposed statement of consistency and reasonableness in your packet. And I'll mention that later tonight you will hear a special use permit proposal for a fuel station, convenience store with fuel cells on this same site. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Does anybody have any questions for Jeremiah from the commissioners or the planning board? Okay. Is the applicant here? If you would state your name and address as you approach.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Planning Board members. My name is Rob Brown. I'm with the Jonas Law Firm. I run our office in Denver, which is at 1258 NC 16 Business, which is literally a stone's throw from this property where the proposed rezoning that we're going to be discussing here in just a moment. Most of you know me. I've appeared before this board many times over the years. For those of you that do see a few new faces, I've been in Lincoln County a long time. I graduated from Lincoln High School in 1986, went off to college law school, and been practicing law here since 1995, right here in Lincoln County. I've also served the community. So I'm starting my 30th year practicing law this year. When I started, I didn't wear readers, and I didn't have gray hairs, so that shows you how long I've been here. So I'm representing tonight, I'm here on behalf of QT, Quick Trip Corporation. Also with me tonight, will be presenting behind me, is J.D. Dudley, is with QT. And then Clay Smith, he's with Keck and Wood. He did the traffic analysis and study, so he'll testify all things traffic when his time comes. Also with me tonight are two folks from QT Corporate, Thomas and Heather. Heather happens to be a Denver resident and obviously lives in the area of this property that we're discussing. Could you key up the PowerPoint, please? Excuse me just a minute. Okay. So as I mentioned, these are the presenters tonight. So we're here on behalf of QT. Most of you probably recognize that brand. It is a recognizable national brand that a lot of us have probably frequent over time. They have over 1,000 stores, employs over 24,000 people. 15 years they've been on the Fortune list of 100 best companies to work for. and they're continually listed on Forbes' top 100 privately held companies. As I mentioned here on the slide, it's a very high-quality franchise. They serve most of the Southeast and into the Midwest southern states. This site and proposed QT at this location will hire 20 to 25 new employees. Here's some average hourly rates. Store manager averages salaries are listed there, and then for the assistant manager. I think a lot of us that travel frequently often look for those national brands, and that's certainly no disrespect to any locally owned stores. In fact, where this QT is going, we've got some really fantastic local stores, and I know some of those folks are here tonight, and you'll probably hear from them. And I think the reason I typically lean towards one of the national brands, as many of you may, is just because of the consistency. You know the product that you're going to get, and you know what to expect when you arrive at a QT and similar national brands. Some of the local stores are less consistent. Sometimes you find some really good ones, and sometimes you find some really bad ones. As I mentioned, we do have two local stores that are on the opposite corners of this site. Triangle Food Mart, which is also a butcher shop, and a small grocery store, and some convenience store items as well. We also have the Fairgrove Food Shop. Jay's sitting up here in the front row. I've known Jay a long time, and both of these establishments are very clean, very nice, and very well run. They don't have some of the things that QT is going to offer, and I'll get into some of that a little bit later, and primarily the fast food, and we'll discuss that. These two stores do have a lot of local and loyal customers. If you've seen anything on social media lately, there's a lot of folks out here supporting these folks, and I don't blame them, as they should. These are good local businesses, and they should be supported. However, if the QT is approved and built, these loyal customers can still be loyal to these two food shops. No one is going to force them to go to the QT, and so they still have the opportunity to be loyal and support the stores that they like to go to. QT would just be another option. So I've got this next slide showing that QT is a valuable community partner. They contribute 5% of their profits to local charities. They're also a national safe place for endangered youth. They've got signs up, if you've seen those. And what that means is runaways or those that are endangered that are under 18 can actually show up to a QT, get a meal, get something to drink, and then authorities are alerted or local agencies to come and offer professional support for that youth. So that's a very valuable resource for the community that they're offering. The owner of the property currently, I spoke with Mr. Jim King. His family, it's Statesville Road Land Company, is one of their holdings. They've owned this property since 1975. It's been available for purchase and for sale for almost a decade. During that time, they only received 2 valid offers on the property. He said in his exact words, got a lot of tire kickers, folks poking around, but never any substantial offers that they considered sufficient enough to go to contract. So the first one was the Circle K. A lot of folks are probably familiar with that in 2019. That rezoning approval was denied, primarily due to traffic concerns. And again, we're going to address traffic here very soon. The family is certainly requesting approval of this, and they're certainly in favor of this rezoning proposal. So this is just a quick view of the site plan. I've got others here that are more experts, can speak to this. I do want to point out you've got a right-in and right-out on Highway 16 going across the bottom of the page there, and then you've got full access point on Unity Church Road. And again, JD and Clay can answer more questions, specifics on the site plan. Again, the TIA, I'd mentioned that, and Clay's going to come speak to that. And there's the summary of the traffic impact analysis. I'm not going to dance around the 2 major issues that are in the room, the elephants, if you will. We all know the beach is opening sometime, I think it's scheduled for Memorial Day, last I heard. We also know there's going to be significant improvements to this intersection at Unity Church Road and Highway 16, which are long overdue. Unfortunately, I got an email from Travis Jordan, our local district engineer. Those contracts should be awarded out for bid in April. Initially, it was supposed to be in November. Then it was deferred till February, and now I'm being told end of April. I do want to mention this next slide, which is very critical. So if the rezoning is approved, the estimated closing date will be July 1st of this year. QT will start applying for plans and permit approvals shortly thereafter. The completion time will be about 30 weeks from the time that they start. So that's about 7.5 months, depending on how you count that. The critical thing I want to share with you is QT is committed to coincide their construction with the scheduled road improvements. And they are committing on the record tonight that they will not open that store until those road improvements are completed in such a way that those are open for public access. So they're not going to build a store. They're going to start the store when we know those contracts are going to be awarded out. If you've been around that site lately, there's some good progress being made. A lot of power poles have been moved. As I mentioned, my office is right there, so I travel that intersection numerous times a day, so they are making some good progress there. All right, next slide. So I want to end on fast food because I'm hungry. I haven't had dinner yet. So if you visited a QT recently, if you haven't, I encourage you to do so. They offer a wide variety of breakfast, lunch, and dinner snacks. I've listed some here. They've got hot pretzels, ice cream, a lot of lunch and dinner food. And the map to the right, I started looking at the fast food restaurants in the area, and actually on NC 16 Business, the closest one south is the Wendy's, which is right there in front of the Publix. And then you got to go 9.3 miles north to hit to the next fast food restaurant, which is the Taco Bell, KFC up near 150. Dunkin' Donuts is in the mix there, but I don't think most people consider Dunkin' Donuts to be a fast food restaurant. So next, this is for the ZMA 740. We would ask that you find this is consistent with the land use plan, that this rezoning is reasonable, and we would respectfully request your approval. Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to have Mr. Dudley from QT come up, and then the traffic engineer, and then have questions after, if that's okay?
That's fine.
All right, thank you, sir.
If you would state your name.
Yes, sir.
Address.
Members of the board and commissioners, thank you for your time this evening. My name is J.D. Dudley. I'm a real estate manager for Quick Trip. I'm actually been employed by Quick Trip for 22 years. Started right out of high school as a night clerk, overnight clerk, and cleaning hot dog grills and power washing the lot and all that fun stuff, paying your dues. And I've been lucky enough to be in the real estate department now for about 19 years. And I get to talk about Quick Trip and educate people, most recently in the San Antonio market where we just expanded. I won't waste too much of your time talking about Quick Trip. I know we've been here for a while. Everybody's pretty knowledgeable about the company as a whole. So what I really want to do is speak more to this site specifically. And so I do the site selection, so we don't rely on brokers or anything. It's all done in-house. When I go find a site, I take it to the VP, we put it under contract, and we go build it. So in order to do that, there's a lot of checks and balances where that individual comes into the market. I've got to show him, the trade area, how it impacts our existing stores, everything you can think of. It's a full workup. And this one was difficult because of how close it is to our other location, but we have a lot of new data now. And so the data we have, we geofenced all of our stores, and then we have this program with Placer AI and QT Site. And so we're actually able to drop a dot on an intersection, run a report, and it tells us how much shared traffic is actually between the sites. So if someone came into a Quick Trip and was there for 3 minutes, they left and drives through the intersection, we can know what that percentage of shared traffic is. So in this particular instance, it's about 13% shared traffic. So we don't view this as a barn burner store. We think it's going to be a really good store from a food standpoint, and really that's what we are. We're the Chick-fil-A gas stations. We're, fast food with gas, and that's what we're really trying to get into because we understand, gasoline's a declining category. But I think this site, what we've shown with the cell data is that the trade area, there's really not a lot of shared traffic, and we really need to find an alternate, a backup location with our other site because we're still going to run and maintain that site, but when that 73 gets super streeted, it's going to hinder the access. So essentially, they take the intersection and they prohibit left-out movements, and so people have to utilize U-turns, and we know what's going to happen. We're going to lose business, and so we need to capture that area somewhere else. The other thing that we did, I contacted Data Science. So Data Science is a corporate department that we have, and we did what we call a test and learn. And so that test and learn, what we looked at was when 7-Eleven, just to the north of our existing store, opened up on Business 16, how did that impact us, right? What did that do? And I was shocked because it came back and there was no significant impact, no impact at all for what our store was doing before and after 7-Eleven opened. So we figured, okay, we need to go put a store up on Business 16. And so that was a big factor in it. And then again, the cell phone data showing the trade area. We had a big gap on 16, and we're just not serving that area. To touch on QT coming in and putting people out of business, I can tell you the very first store I worked at in 2003, we opened up a QT right next to a little, I think it was a Phillips Conoco, had about 6 pumps on it, and that building's still there today. That use is still there today. What happens when a Quick Trip comes in, we don't run people out of business, but what we do is we force people to clean up their store, lower their prices, and, update their aesthetics. Now, I did go into the gas stations. I've been into them multiple times. I'm not knocking our competition. I think the ones I went in today, the butcher shop is a pretty cool concept. I like that. We don't view them as a competitor because we look at more of as a meat market. And then the other station that I went into today was clean, well organized. It was a good looking station, but they carry a lot of items that we don't carry. So HPC, home items, grocery items, those types of things, we've pretty much gotten rid of all of our stuff. So we used to have it set up where we had a huge grocery section and sold all types of items. Well, now we have one half on the backside of a shelf in a small area where we just have some items, not many. So we really don't view them as competitors because from a food standpoint, that's where we have our bread and butter. We sell our taquitos, our brisket. So that's just kind of how we look at it from a site selection standpoint. I would like to point out with Quick Trip, we are privately held. We don't have any drug paraphernalia in our stores. We don't have any risque magazines or anything like that. We are a family-run company. What you'll find, and what we consider this to be a neighborhood store, you'll find that the entire part-time staff pretty much is going to be your teenagers that go to the local high school. And so my wife actually ran a store similar to this in Hill Country, and the same thing. All of our employees were football team guys and just teenagers from the high school. So it truly is a community store, and that's what we want to be here for. I did mention, and our consultant also touched on the fact that there's not a lot of food in the area, right? So we definitely think there's an opportunity there. I've worked this entire corridor. I wanted to go up to 150 in Business 16. There's no opportunity there. So just with the road widening that's occurring, the right-of-way taking, the fact you've got CVS and ABC store, people were not going to buy out. And so I wanted to find a backup location, and I feel that we've done that. With the intersection improvements that are coming in, I think it's going to definitely align everything. It's going to improve the access that's out there. From an access standpoint, we are putting, on the right in, right out drive, we are putting a turn lane on that. So you'll actually be able to get off of 16 before you turn into the QT. The access today that I observed trying to get in and out of our competitors was problematic because they don't have any side street access like we have on Unity Church. Their drives were all in the front. Cars were stacking and then trying to turn out and shoot a gap to try and get out of there. You're not going to have those problems with Quick Trip. Basically the way we do it and the way we set up our lots is our critical dimensions far surpass what's required for fire lanes. So basically we can have RVs can go under our canopy, the fire trucks can go under the canopy. We maximize the spacing that's out there. We're going to have E0 on every pump. And I think that's important because with this being a complementary use to the lake, I think it's important because you're going to have boats, you're going to have trucks with trailers, people that are going out to the lake. And right now, the current setup for the gas stations, the way they are today, aren't really conducive for them to being able to fill up. But we want them coming in, getting ice, getting sandwiches, and going out on the lake. And I think with our site plan, we allow for that internal stack and that internal circulation to safely get them on and off. And to that point, I've heard some things about QT generating traffic. Well, like I said, this is a neighborhood store for us. We're going to live off what's there today. We're not going to pull off of 16 or 73. We're very confident in that, and that's why we didn't put huge numbers on it because, again, it's going to be a neighborhood store. It's not an interstate location. So we really are going to be facilitating the traffic that's there today by providing them a better option of ingress and egress. So I think that's important to mention. So the one thing that really sets us apart other than our people is our security. So we put most banks to shame, right? So right now, I was driving out there late the other night, couldn't really find a place to use a bathroom. Not a lot open, and just there wasn't really a good option. With Quick Trip, our store security systems put most banks to shame. I mean, we truly do. We were commended by the FBI because our security system is so sophisticated that there were crimes that actually happened off of QT property, but they bypassed our security system at some point, and we were able to help the FBI actually solve some crimes out there, and they gave us a commendment letter. The last thing I'll touch on is going to be the intersection improvements. We are not in the business of buying a piece of property, building an $8 million store, paying employees 30% over the national average for our industry to have road work and roads torn up in front of our stores. We don't want that, and we won't do that. And to give you an example, I recently closed on a piece of property, and that one's is Sutton. It's in Fort Mill. It's on Sutton Road and 77. That is going to be torn up, and basically, they didn't put any conditions on us, but we are not starting construction until after 2027 when that road work is done. Because the worst thing we can do is open a QT and then have the road torn up out front. In my career, I know we did it one time in Azle, Texas, and it was an absolute nightmare. And so just as a company, we don't do that. We're actually requesting a condition being placed on the SUP that states our C of O is tied to the road completion. So we're totally comfortable doing that. We've been working on this one a long time, so if we've got to wait a little bit longer, it's not the end of the world. But that's all I have to say this evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hold on, we got some questions for you.
Yes, sir.
So, back about a year and a half ago, maybe, we as a board zoned a piece of property up at 16 and 150 that was what the neighbors considered a gas desert. And so that property's still up there. It's still available for a gas station and still available for, in fact, it was a gas station restaurant. And so you didn't consider 16 and 150?
I've worked the entire area. There's not a street on this 150 stretch, 73, 16, Business 16. I've looked at every intersection. I physically counted most of the traffic out there myself. There's just not an opportunity up there for us. I mean, if I could move the ABC store, but even with that said, I would do both of these stores. So even if I could get something up there, I still would want to do this store down here. If an opportunity does arise that we have that ability at one day to do that, we will definitely try to add a third store.
There was a great deal of encouragement for that, although we didn't care much to do it, there was a great deal of encouragement from the neighbors up there because it is a gas desert in that area.
Yes, sir.
I've got something else I want to ask, but go ahead.
Okay. All right, next gentleman, Clay Smith.
Thank you all.
Good evening. Clay Smith, Keckenwood, traffic engineering market leader. We performed the traffic impact analysis for this site that we've been discussing tonight. I've worked with Quick Trip going on 12 years now on a lot of these traffic impact analysis all over the Southeast. Done a lot of work here in North Carolina. When JD identified this site, we had a kickoff meeting with North Carolina DOT and the county as well to talk about what would need to be looked at from a traffic perspective, knowing there's some history here with traffic. We worked out which intersections we wanted to study. It was Triangle and Unity and Business 16 up to Natalie, and then out to the east and west, one intersection, so Optimus Club. We looked at all those intersections. Quick Trip follows the Institute of Transportation Engineers version 11. It's the most recent edition. It dictates the trip generation for this type of site. It also dictates what pass-by trips are allocated for this site. As JD mentioned, a lot of the focus for this site is going to be capturing that existing traffic. 75% of all the traffic is going to be captured from the existing traffic that's on the roadway, majority of which is going to come from North Carolina 16 business. About 2/3 of all the traffic is going to originate on 16 business. The other third is going to come off of the side street at Triangle Circle and Unity Church. And when we looked at the intersections, there was a lot of discussion with North Carolina and with the county about the location of the driveways. The location and the access types were discussed up front. Again, the right in, right out, making sure that it was an appropriate distance away from the intersection improvement. Same thing with the access on Unity Church, making sure it was far enough away, and there have been several site revisions to make sure that we capture that. What we look at is we look at delay, so average delay for a vehicle. We also look at queuing. We also look at the need for turn lanes. When we ran our analysis, as JD mentioned, we saw that in the existing conditions, what's out there today, that there is some level of service and delay issues at the main intersection of 16 Business and Unity Church, which is, again, why I think this intersection was tapped to have an improvement at. When we look at the intersection after the store is built, and even with the intersection improvement without the store, you're going to see that the level of service and delay significantly improves to an acceptable level, what we would call a level of service C. C is a passing grade in this scenario. When we looked at the queuing, all of the queuing fit within the 95th percentile queue length and the available storage, as indicated by the layout for the new improvement. When you start looking at the site driveways, they all function with adequate level of service and 1 or 2 car minimum on queuing. When we looked at turn lanes, the only turn lane that was warranted based on the volumes and North Carolina DOT guidance was the right turn lane into the right in, right out on North Carolina 16 business. We had a discussion, and again, JD brought that up, that should be laid out in the site plan as well. One additional thing that we did look at based on some feedback and discussion with the county was we did look at weekend volumes because of some weekend trips, and there was a concern about traffic on the weekend. When we went and counted, we made sure that it was, we counted in August, and we made sure it was a sunny day, that there was clear weather, making sure that people are out and about. Typically on the weekend, we see our peak occur in the middle of the day, and that mirrored exactly this scenario here. It was middle of the day was the peak. In the morning and the PM, it was slightly lower. That traffic was slightly less than a typical work day or weekday, the PM peak that we had also counted. So the 2 scenarios that we looked at in our study were a weekday AM and a weekday PM. The weekend was about 8 to 10% less all around at that intersection of North Carolina 16 Business and Unity Church Triangle Circle. So we did account for what we would call a worst-case scenario in that standpoint. And we do have a ton of different diagrams for trip distributions. We do think, again, that heaviest movement is going to come off of North Carolina 16 Business based on existing volumes. So with that being said, we had little to no impact as part of our study.
And did you consider in your study the additional 200 to 250 trips that are going down that street, the one-way street going to the swim beach from May to September?
When we talked, you said from May to September?
Yeah.
So when we counted in August, that was on the weekend, and it was for an entire day.
But I'm
So
talking about the swim beach that's coming in May. The swim beach and the fishing pier that's going to generate an additional probably 200 to 250 trips down that way to that one-way in, one-way out street.
So when we look at trip generation, it's capped by the available space that's available on site. So a site can only generate so many trips. It doesn't matter how many are around it. It can only capacity hold so many. We can only hold approximately 4,000 trips on this site with the number of pumps and the available store space that we have.
So no, you didn't consider the
Even if they came in, we wouldn't be able to handle the capacity on site.
So my concern, and I've spoken this concern to Andrew as well, is that the intersection is going to take 18 months to finish. And it's going to be a pretty big mess in May when we have the swim beach open up in May on Memorial Day or before, the week before. And then we're going to have also the Quip trip that you says you're going to be there in 30 weeks. So the street's going to be torn up for about 30 more weeks after you open. Is that your understanding?
I think what JD was saying, and JD, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the conditional was that that intersection improvement would be installed.
So you're going to wait 18 months before you start construction?
That's going to be JD's call from a construction. I don't control their construction schedule.
I got that. I understand. I'm just saying that's one of the concerns that I have, besides the way more additional trips that are going to be down there because of the swim beach and the additional resources that we're going to have to place down there to begin with. I'm not saying that you're going to generate any more resources. What I'm saying is we're not looking at the same number of trips, I don't think, overall that we actually have going down that one-way street, the one-way in and the one-way out. And originally, I asked Andrew about not having a left turn out onto Unity Church, and that apparently didn't work out well.
So I can tell you if our approval is contingent upon a major concern being that we not start construction until the road improvements are done, that's definitely something that we would consider as opposed to not having a store at all. So we could absolutely do that. The plan would be that 6 months before the road work's done, we would start construction so that when our doors are ready to be open, the intersection gets done. So that's the rough, how we typically would do it.
And you understand that we've been told that this intersection could be done for the past 3 years.
I understand.
Okay. It's not like Well, the money's been there for the past 3. I got the 8, 10, 12, yeah, I got that. But the money's been there for the last 3 years, for sure. And we haven't turned a shovel over there except where all the poles have been done, and Duke has gotten their stuff together, so. And I'm done.
So back to the traffic study, when you're saying the trips, you're talking about the people that are coming into the store. What happens around that store is irrelevant to your study.
So the way that the ITE TripJet, that's the Institute of Transportation Engineers, a site can only process so many vehicles at a period of time. And the way that they calculate that in this case is going to be store square footage. So like JD was talking about, they do sell convenience goods. They have food in the store. They have coffee in the stores that people go there specifically for, but they can only process so many. And then same with the pumps. Those are 2 of the independent variables that we look at that dictate what a site can generate. And that's given to us based on national studies that are taken and they come into play in this Institute of Transportation Engineers version 11. So they create a land use code, and that land use code in this case has multiple studies from all over the United States in different use areas, whether it's suburban, rural, mixture. So the 2 variables come into play.
Okay. Does any commissioner have any additional questions? Planning board? Okay. At this time, I will open the public hearing for ZMA 740 Quick Trip Corporation. And on the sign-in sheet, we just have Rob, JD, and Clay. I'm sure there were, on the SUP sign-in, there were front and back. So I will give you guys the option to speak in this public hearing. If you're wanting to speak in this public hearing but signed up on the SUP public hearing, we will allow that. So, Martin, you're the first one signed up for the SUP. Are you wanting to speak in the SUP, or are you wanting to speak in the ZMA case?
In the case of this SUP, I'm representing these 2 people beside me. I'd like to speak separately on, right now, about the zoning.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just remind the public, if you wish to speak in the QJ matter, the quasi-judicial matter, the SUP case, you're required to have standing under law. And that's a small group of people. And if you have questions about that, when you come up, we can kind of determine whether or not you have the standing to speak in the SUP case, or if you actually meant to speak in this case. Okay?
If you would state your name and
Martin
address.
Oaks, 8057 Lucky Creek Lane, Denver, North Carolina. I have basically only one comment, and that's the beach. I keep hearing this story about how, well, when the beach parking lot is full, there won't be any more trips down that road. Well, how do you stop people going down the road and finding out that the place is full, turning around in disgust and leaving? Those trips count. You don't get limitation automatically because your parking lot at the end of the street is full. People still go down there. That's a fallacy, in my opinion, and I keep hearing that from Duke and from traffic people. That's just crazy.
Thank you, Mr. Oaks. The next gentleman signed up to speak in the SUP is Jim Dale. Are you wanting to speak in the SUP or the ZMA case?
Well, I'm not really sure. I just want to say no, because I'm a resident in Denver. I'm a resident at just beyond the church on 8303 Pine Lake Road. And thank you for the emphasis on one way in and one way out, because it's a major pain as of today. I don't care if you put 3 lanes there at the intersection. It's the traffic that comes north and south. You can't get out until we have a green light, and that takes time. Today, we can't get out between 11:30 and 1 o'clock. It takes us 20 minutes to hit 16. Let's add some more congestion there by putting a quick trip there on the corner, as well as the beach behind us. And so that's where I'm at. I mean, as a resident, I'm just talking about concern about the congestion that we all deal with, constantly in Denver, and it's not going to get any better if we keep putting stores and businesses and whatever.
And if you would, state your address as well.
Oh, 8303 Pine Lake Road in Denver, North Carolina.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's pretty much it. So thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you. Okay, we have next Elaine Hoffman. Are you wanting to speak in the SUP? All right, just come up and speak in ZMA then. Come on up and speak.
Hi there. My name is Ellen Huffman. I live at 8133 Deepwater Lane, right off of Unity Church. Thank you for mentioning the one-way in and one-way out. A couple of things that I wanted to mention, as the gentleman just mentioned, we are growing so much in Denver that we are starting to see a big strain on Unity Church. In the last couple of weeks, I get to the light and there are 40 cars deep at the light. This is also a very curvy road, so it's hard to navigate. So if we've got an intersection where a gas station is there and it looks like there's going to be a pullout that comes directly from the gas station onto Unity Church, you're coming already onto a road that's curving, that's 40 cars deep, and then to add onto it, you've got a child care center right there on the corner. So it seems like there's not really an easy way in and an easy way out. I know the gentleman from QT mentioned the fact that there will be a turn lane into the gas station. It doesn't seem like what they're referring to or what they've addressed has anything to do with how the egress is actually going to transpire, which will require crossing across the intersection, cars having to be opened up where there's already 40 cars existing as right now. So that becomes problematic. I challenge the traffic study because, as you mentioned, we do have the swim beach that's going up. At the very best, it's incomplete because we do not know how the traffic is going to be impacted by that swim beach. If this was something that we were talking about a year or so from now, when we can see how much traffic is actually created by that swim beach, then we can determine whether or not this is actually something that we could do, something that makes sense, something that we can actually account for, traffic flow for. And, based on the timeline of the actual construction happening at that intersection, I just don't see, based on the current timeline, what they're planning, the data that they're proposing, how any of that is relevant based on that intersection, that we're not going to really see a reality of what it is for 18 months or however long it takes for that intersection to be built. So my concern is moving too quickly on that. The safety of people trying to get in and out of that gas station with an already very congested intersection, that one way in, one way out. I'm going to make sure I just hit a couple of other things. I think that might be it. And then overall, I appreciate QT's, capitalistic endeavors, but the reality is the dollars that are going to be made here are going to go back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the headquarters are, and not back into our community. So I'm more protective of, if you're going to say that you're really a neighborhood store, then I think you need to consider the neighborhood itself and the way that we're going to move in and around this area. So just put your money where your mouth is.
Thank you. Next on the list is Chris Cornwell. If you would state your name and address, and are you wanting to speak in the SUP or the ZMA?
ZMA.
All right.
Christopher Cornwell. I'm at 2153 Lake Breeze Lane in Denver. I'm concerned with, again, like everybody else, with the traffic. Bud brought up, it's one way in, one way out. Right now, you can't get through that intersection at lunchtime. It's a mess, no matter which way you're going. And the previous gas station was shut down for too much traffic. We've only been building like maniacs. Traffic is worse. So you're going to get people that are coming off of the Highway 16 coming in. Oh, I need to get gas. I need to get there. And now I need to get back onto 16. And then I've seen it, and not necessarily, obviously, the site's not built yet. So people are coming out of Unity Church. They're leaving the new public beach. They don't want to wait for the light. What am I going to do? I'm going to cut through the gas station. And I got to get zip back onto the highway. Anything to save 2-3 minutes. I don't know if that was ever identified, because I've seen down at 16 on 73, people cut through the gas station there so they don't have to go through the light. So, I mean, I think it's just going to cause a lot more problems. And do they say that there's no opportunity up at 150? People up there My office is up that way. We need a gas station. It would be great, but I guess there's not enough cars and traffic for them to say it's worthwhile. And I get the other thing is too, there's no way they're not going to affect the small mom and pop stores. They say, oh, they're not going to affect them. Yeah, they will. Their gas sales were going to go down. It's a fact of life. So that's what I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Kevin McCarley. If you would state your name and address and just,
Thank you. My name is Kevin McCauley, and I live at 7993 King Arthur's Court here in Denver. I'm only 5 years in town, but I just thought I'd come to this meeting because where I live is off of Unity Church Road. And it is a congested area. There are times trying to get out off of Graham Road by the pallet company, we'll wait 4 or 5 minutes. If the school buses are running in the morning, it can be longer. And I just can't imagine the traffic. Prior to living here, I lived in a beach community in Rhode Island. And to answer this gentleman's question about how will people know the lots are full, well, they would have the state put out those adjustable signs, and it just says parking lot full, so people drive by. But I get it. If there's no sign there, they are going to be going up and down the road looking for that beach. So I'm just here to voice my no on this project. Thank you.
thank you. Sheila Kane.
Sheila Kane, 2548 Perryview Lane, off of Unity Church. A big part of the discussion is traffic concerns. He mentioned chasing the gap to get out of the other 2 locations that we have on site. Watching and seeing the plans, I'm not seeing where we are missing the gap, trying to jump onto Unity Church, exiting that gas station. But something that hasn't been considered also is public safety. They discussed mentioning the extension of hours because people need a place to go to the bathroom and stop and go to the bathroom. We have had recent crime reports at the existing Quick Trip on Highway 73. And so that raises my concern of the potential crime spilling into our community inside Denver proper versus leaving it outside on 73. They've seen multiple robberies, violent incidences at that location, including armed robberies and carjackings. So on top of the concerns with our traffic, I am also concerned for the community's safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Grayson Hedrick.
My name is Grayson Hedrick. I live at 7994 King Arthur's Court. And I don't have much to add here. A lot has been said already. But I do want to point out again that there is a child care center right at that intersection. I have 2 young children that go there. I've only been living in this home for about 2 years now. But in that time, I personally have witnessed 3 accidents at that intersection. So we're no strangers to accidents there. And on top of that, they said that there would be little to no impact on traffic, but I would also like to challenge that because having a new business there is not going to mitigate any of that traffic. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Chris Orrell.
First question, do I have standing? Is there an answer to that? I'm 3.3 miles away.
Did you get notice of did you get a letter in the mail about the hearing? Are you an expert? Are you an engineer, traffic engineer, anything like that?
No.
Okay, so no. But you can speak
can s-
in this, you
Okay.
just cannot speak in the SUP.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm just here to say that
If you would state your name and address,
Oh,
please.
my name is Chris Orell. I live at 7668 Tanglewood Way here in Denver. I've been in the Denver area for about 3 years now, and I just want to say that I do enjoy Quick Trip. I like having a clean gas station to go to. I know the bathrooms are going to be clean. The food is pretty good, and I think that the traffic concerns would be more so related to the construction itself versus the ongoing traffic. That's just my opinion, though. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, the address where you live, is that on or off Unity Church?
No,
Where exactly is that?
it's off of, wait, what is that street? Little Egypt? Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
Ken Phillips.
My name's Ken Phillips. I own the Triangle Food Mart right there at Unity Church Road in 16. Traffic is horrible at this intersection. People wait for 3, 4 red lights to even get through the intersection. And with this beach coming, it's just going to be worse. I don't see a lot of improvements with the road. They're straightening out, putting some turn lanes in, but I think we're still going to have a traffic problem there. And until the beach is done and the construction is done, I don't see how we can even consider this, because we got a major problem right there now. And that's all I got to say.
If you would state your address.
1298 North Highway 16, Denver.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Next on the list, it looks like a Dwayne Moffett. If you would state your name and address when you step to the podium.
Wayne Moffett, 1727.
If you would speak into the microphone there, sir.
Oh.
Other way,
side.
other way.
Oh. Dwayne Moffett, 1727 Triangle Circle. I've lived here in Denver since 1971. Now, that area right there at 16, that's some of the worst traffic you can find, and it ain't, with the beach going down there, it ain't getting no better. And they mentioned there was only like maybe one fast food restaurant. They mentioned a Wendy's. Well, they didn't mention the ice cream place. Dairy Queen right next to it. You also go down to the bottom of the hill, 73, take a left, you got a cookout. If you go straight across, you got a McDonald's, a Taco Bell. You got a right, you got 3 or 4 more places there. We got plenty of places to eat. If you go on past Triangle where we're building that, there's another gas station down there that's got all kinds of sandwiches and stuff. Yeah, I'm concerned with the traffic. The traffic, you know, when they put that in there, that's not going to make the traffic any better. That's going to make it worse. So I don't think that's a good idea. But like I said, 150, they need gas stations there. If they ain't got one, they need gas stations there. That's where they should be putting that gas station. Thank you.
Thank you. And last on the list to speak in public comment, Vicki Rowan.
My name is Vicki Rowan, and I live at 8016 Hinsdale Lane. For those who are not familiar with that neighborhood, there are 2 main roads that leave that intersection. There's Unity Church, which a lot of people live off of Unity Church, and then immediately past the little daycare is Graham Road. It's only 1/10 of a mile, maybe 2/10, before you get to Graham. And I live in one of the off of Graham Road neighborhoods. I want to tell you a story. About, 6 or 7 years ago, I had an office very near Bob Brown's, as a matter of fact. And there was a wreck well, it was more than a wreck. It was a very serious situation on Graham Road. And I could not get from my office to my home, which is about half a mile, for 3 or 4 hours because there is no other means of ingress and egress from the Graham/Unity Church neighborhoods, from that entire peninsula, except that intersection. If there is a blockage at that intersection, whether it's due to construction, a wreck, or the traffic that is endemic to North Carolina Business 16, particularly when Lincoln Charter is getting ready to let out, you can't get out any other way. Now, Sheriff Beam tells me that there is an emergency exit that they could open in a true emergency, something that lasts more than 4 or 5 hours, like the wreck on Graham Road. Never heard of it being opened, and if there is another way to get us in and out, then I'd like to know about it, and I'd like to find out why it has not been turned into a public way so that people can ingress and egress from our neighborhoods, including Cameron Heights and all the way down to the water. But I'm very, very concerned that between the construction, which, oh, by the way, I've owned that house since 1998, they've been promising us improvements to that intersection for 10 years, at least, maybe longer. And I don't know when that's going to happen. Yes, I've seen the power poles too, but I'll believe it when I see it. But for right now, we've got a terrible situation, and I don't know that the DOT improvements to that intersection are going to improve much of anything at all. Thank you.
Thank you. With no one else signed up to speak, I would declare the public hearing closed. And Bud has a question he would like to ask.
Sorry to be hogging the microphone here.
Oh, you're good.
So I don't have a question for the SOP, but I do have a question for the ZMA. Is that allowed, Madam Attorney? So is there anyone in the room that lives off of Unity Church Road that thinks this is a good idea? Just raise your hand. Anyone at all? Okay, thanks. Well, anyone that lives on the peninsula, on that little peninsula, does anyone think it's a good idea? Okay, thank you.
Can you stop the beach?
Tried my best.
Okay. We will move on to ZMA 744 Hills Chapel Methodist Church. Jeremiah.
The applicant in this case is requesting the rezoning of 13.8 acres from transitional residential to general business. The applicant stated on their application that the proposed use is a wellness center. We'll speak more to that in the special use permit hearing. We'll speak in more detail about that. The subject property is located at 988 South NC 16 Business Highway in Catawba Springs Township, and it's also located in the Eastern Lincoln Development District overlay. The property is adjoined by parcels that are zoned industrial general, transitional, residential, and planned development industrial. Land uses in this area include primarily industrial and residential uses, and this property is located in an area designated by the land use plan as single-family neighborhood. There are immediately surrounding this property 3 parcels that are in a larger area designated by the land use plan as industrial center. Those surrounding parcels are in a different land use designation than this parcel. You have representative examples of permitted uses in the current zoning district as well as the proposed zoning district. Our staff is not recommending approval of this request due to inconsistency with the land use plan, as well as the NC-16 corridor vision plan, and the incompatibility with the zoning districts surrounding this property and along this section of the 16 business corridor. There are about half a mile south of here at the intersection of Old Plank and 16, certainly parcels that are zoned business, and a little bit closer, about a third of a mile south of here, there's a cluster of 4 or 5 parcels that are zoned business. But the immediate area, there are no parcels directly adjoining this that are zoned business, and it's not consistent with the land use plan and the corridor vision plan. So that's the rationale for our statement. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Anyone from the commissioners or planning board having questions for Jeremiah? Okay, is the applicant here? If you would, please state your name and address.
My name is Donald Grice. My address is 1127 Grice Road, Stanley, North Carolina. Though my address is Stanley, which is a Gaston County town, I live in Lincoln County.
Yes, sir.
My name is Donald Grice. I am the trustee chairperson at Hills Chapel United Methodist Church. I was born and raised in Lowesville, and I continue to live there. I spent 41 years of my life in a Lincoln County classroom, either as a teacher or as a student. I was baptized as an infant at Hills Chapel more than 77 years ago. I've been an active member there my entire life. Hills Chapel was established in 1859 and is considered a beacon in our community by church members as well as community members. Our church is the center of many activities that involve children, youth, adults, and older adults alike. We are a very caring, sharing, and giving church. A good example of this occurred recently after the devastating hurricane in western North Carolina. Before our barbecue in October, at the suggestion of Kevin Dellinger, who cooks the barbecue, we decided to give every penny that we made, not 5%, 10%, 25%, 50%. We gave 100% of everything we took in the door that day to the people in western North Carolina. That amounted to more than $30,000 from a small church that has a regular attendance of somewhere about 50. Our church house has been vacant now for 3.5 years. When we were approached about our church house being used as a med spa, we were quite excited because this would not only be a source of income, but it would also be a positive use of our facility. Their concept of being a provider of valuable services to our community fit well with our church's desire to care, share, and give to our community. This seemed to be a perfect fit for both parties involved. With the approval of this church house being used as a med spa, we see our beacon of light only getting a little bit brighter. Thank you.
Thank you.
PowerPoint? Oh. I'm Michael Morgan, 6820 Hawks Nest Lane, Stanley, North Carolina. I'm a member of the church. And so we're trying to get this presentation out for you guys. Yeah, Donald did the first one. So We are Highway 16 is a high-traffic road with a mixture of primary business and residential properties. Few industrial properties are visible from the highway, and there are 8 neighborhood business or general business properties within a quarter-mile of the subject property. The future county use plan identifies the church campus as industrial, which is a county definition of nuisance properties, which are not harmonious with the mission of the church. We are requesting you consider a 166 heritage of the church by permitting the endeavor embraced by the congregation and neighborhood residential owners, the majority of whom are all supportive church members. The building under consideration was originally the church parsonage and underwent a costly renovation in 2009 to meet the county standards to be used as our office church, our church office. Our new pastor wanted more hands-on connection with the congregation, so the office was moved approximately 3.5 years ago. As the building sits, it's not conducive to residential or proposed allowed incidental to the church use. Reconfiguring the building would require significant costly modifications that would create extreme hardship for the church. Through local connections, we have been able to identify the user that is compatible with the church operations, that can work with the building layout with no financial impact to improve this building. In fact, collaboration will bring revenue in to the church and increase sustainability and provide a vibrant new use for the building while also bringing new visitors to the campus. This rezoning request only impacts one building on the campus. As you carefully consider this request, please note that Denver United Methodist Church is also located adjacent to industrial property and recently received approval for one of their buildings to be used as a med spa. And their campus is zoned business general. In addition to that, the Roman Catholic Church is zoned business general and is directly in front of an industrial park. The county has previously acknowledged industrial and church uses are direct opposition to one another, and we ask you to allow more harmonious use of this vacant building. As the property is overlay district, the special use permit will allow the county to have the ability to oversee the use of the building for years to come. The med spa closely aligns with the church mission of community service and adding health and wellness aspect. Those benefits provide essential health services where gaps exist. In the area include more individualized holistic approach to health and wellness. These services would be beneficial to our current members and bring welcoming new opportunities to embrace new opportunities. This collaboration also generates income for the church, which opens new opportunities to further serve the community through things Donald mentioned, such as food drives, extended state aid. The Highway 16 streetscape will also enhance to make it more appealing. County planning needs to be synergistic with growth, and we feel the plan accomplishes the goal without industrial nuisance or industrial impacts. It fits with other local church uses and fosters a community atmosphere. It maintains a cooperative relationship with legacy institution that worked together for 166 years. Few uses can complement situations such as this building. We have found solutions that provided a win-win for the church, med spa, facility, community, and county. Thank you for your consideration. All right.
Thank you. All right, I will now open the public hearing for ZMA 744 Hills Chapel Methodist Church, LLC applicant. And I have one other person signed up. All I can make out is the last name Smith. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Gregory Smith. I live at 7456 Stallwood Drive, Denver, North Carolina, 28037. I just wanted to give another perspective in regards to the applicant's request. I own an adjacent parcel right there at the church. My intent to purchase that parcel was to use it for a business application in the future. At the time I did it, it was residential transition. And there was no indication I'd be limited on the application of businesses I could pursue on that property. So and it sounds like what the approach currently is with the current overlay, and I don't know when that changed, is that it should be industrial. And again, from a business person, I'd ask the planning board and the commissioners to think about this a little bit. Having a lot of business experience, it's not clear to me why they're in conflict. And Business 16 is an excellent visible road. So having general business out on that road, when I'm very familiar with industrial, which are not looking for visibility, right, to the population, they typically are manufacturing an assortment of other types of businesses that are looking to be more isolated and away. So it just, to me, as an individual, I'd ask you to think about your policies and principles and what drives this, making sure that you're not creating a misjudgment and strategy. For business people who look for having visibility off of Business 16, it makes complete sense, right? For having different options and being able to use that property for other forms of business besides industrial. It also makes sense to me that the industrial clients are not going to really want to be right on the front of Business 16. Classically, they're off somewhere else. So that was the primary point I wanted to raise. And I think the legacy of the church is pretty compelling in regards to giving consideration for someone that's been there so long, working with them in regards to trying to find a solution for the church. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And with no other speakers signed up, I will now declare the public hearing closed. Okay, we've got one more. I'll open the public hearing.
Hello, my name's Robert Gales. I live at 182 Kewen Farm Road, Stanley, North Carolina. I can tell you that we need every church in our county to be viable. There are over 50,000 residents that are in the 10 to 14, 15 mile radius of that church and a lot of other churches right there in that specific area. And if you figure, Donald said they had like 50 in normal attendance. Even if you had 100 people in every church on average, you would still come up about 40,000 people short that wouldn't know the Lord, would not get the opportunity to know about Jesus and what he's done for us. We need every church in this area to be viable, to be functioning and healthy. If this helps them to be functional and healthy, then we need to approve it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will now declare the public hearing closed. And we will move to ZMA 745 BVJ and J Investments.
The applicant in this case is requesting the rezoning of 2.269 acres from residential single family to general business. This property is located at 1781 South NC 16 Business Highway in Catawba Springs Township. This property is also located in the Eastern Lincoln Development District overlay, and it is adjoined by properties owned residential single family. Land uses in this area are primarily residential uses. If you've perused your packet, you'll notice in the maps that this property is right on the Lincoln-Gaston line on 16 Business. And it's located in an area that's designated by the land use plan as suburban commercial center, suitable for a variety of commercial uses to serve the daily needs of surrounding residential neighborhoods. It's also immediately adjacent to an area for which a small area plan has been adopted, the Woodcock Farms Small Area Plan. The industrial component of that small area plan you might be familiar with, the Riverbend project, which is located on the eastern side of 16 Bypass. You have examples of the permitted uses in the current district as well as the proposed district, and I will mention that this parcel is located within the protected area of a regulated water supply watershed, which limits its impervious coverage And if they were to exceed a certain threshold of impervious coverage on this site with the future development, then they would be back before this board to request a high-density option special use permit. Staff is recommending approval of this request. You have our proposed statement of consistency and reasonableness in your packet, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Do any of the commissioners or planning board have questions for Jeremiah?
Jeremiah,
Yes.
could you address the watershed 4 protected area, the Catawba Mountain Island Lake watershed, and clarify to me the differences in residential impervious surfaces versus the 1070 non-residential?
Yeah, for residential development of this parcel, it would be a density cap of 2 units per acre. For non-residential uses on this property, that development is regulated by a maximum impervious coverage instead of a density metric. So it would be 24% if they used curb and gutter, 36% of the site could be covered with impervious surfaces if they did not use curb and gutter for this non-residential development.
So you're saying residential has the 24 to 36% impervious, and industrial or commercial has the 70%?
No, residential is limited by units per acre, a residential density metric. Non-residential uses, including commercial and or industrial, would be limited by the impervious coverage. And there's 2 levels to that, if you will. There's the low density option, which is a 24/36%, depending on whether or not they use curb and gutter. Or if they come back to this board with their site-specific plan for how they're going to develop the site, and it's going to exceed that low density cap, then they would be requesting approval for high density, which allows up to 70%.
I have a friend in the paving business, and they've been discussing with me the options of a pervious surface, which allows the water to seep in more so. I know that's contingent upon approval and coming back for an SUP, but so the SUP would require conditions for approval?
There would be a site-specific development plan, and the applicant would need to demonstrate compliance with ordinance standards as part of that process.
Depending on approval tonight. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jeremiah? Okay, is the applicant here? If you would, please state your name and address.
My name is Jimmy Hua. I live at 7917 Bay Pond Drive, Denver, North Carolina 28037. I have Mr. David Ledford speak for me for the rezoning project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Board. My name's David Ledford, 2730 Maiden Highway. I've been asked by Mr. Jimmy Hahn to come and speak with y'all regarding his proposal. We started this project back in February or April of last year. He came to me wanting to do some contractor office space with a little bit of storage in the back perimeter of the buildings and stuff. And basically for, contractor office that has warehouse space, and if they use up the warehouse space, that they could actually rent some of the units that are back there, a very minimal number of units. I've had this happen in other locations, a business property will develop and have additional storage for the units there on site, to be rented, monthly or whatever as needed basis, and then used as other stuff for home storage and that sort of thing, of development in the area. I've got a site plan that's up on the screen right at the moment. It kind of shows you that the access that has been requested is on Kevin Lane. Initially, when we came to the technical review committee with the county back in probably April, May, sometime of last year, we had access directly on the Highway 16. With that being said, DOT did not want that to happen, unless it was a last-ditch effort. In turn, they suggested using Kevin Lane, which Kevin Lane is a right-of-way per se, but it's going to a mobile home now as far as a rental on this parcel in the rear. With that being said, the county came up and asked that we get a right-of-way agreement with the other owner that owns half the right-of-way, and that is the guys with Riverbend Development and everything else. So we've been in the process with them for a while, trying to get information available to get an agreement together that can appease both attorneys and all four individuals involved, and as you know, that can be a daunting task. With that being said, we're pretty close. We were going to have a meeting last week to finalize something, but in the process of this going on for multiple months, Jimmy wanted to come and actually get something underway, knowing that something else was coming, so that he could at least have an opportunity to do something for his family and that sort of thing. He is a local resident of Denver. He's been around a long time. He's owned quite a few restaurants, and he's taken that money and invested it wisely. He has a property manager that's in the audience tonight. He's just, basically wanting to ensure his family's future here in Lincoln County. And I would like to say one thing. He's wanting to do this basically, like I said, to get things underway. Here in the past couple of months, his wife has passed away. He's an older gentleman himself. He just wants to get something going, if you can understand what I'm saying. But over and above, I would just say that, the project would be self-contained, very low visibility, almost kind of like a compound, if you would say, as far as in the rear with the storage buildings surrounding them. You're looking at a contractor office space that usually has a few employees in these smaller units, like 1,000, 1,500 square feet. That creates a low volume of traffic, unlike maybe QT or something that could potentially go into a location later on with all the residential and other commercial developments that are going to be occurring in the future there. The other part, as far as the storage, there's not enough storage at that facility to increase traffic flow either. So basically, I think for a low volume neighborhood type of, let's say, office type use, I don't know anything else that you can put in there that is commercial that would not affect the surroundings even more. So if y'all got any questions, be more than happy to answer them.
You having the same issues with Gaston County? You got to do this with Gaston as well?
No, don't have to do it in Gaston County. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. I will now open the public hearing for ZMA 745 BVJ and J Investments. And the only two people signed up on the list were the applicants, so nobody else signed up to speak. I will now declare the public hearing closed. Thank you. The planning board will now recess their meeting to room 310, and anyone interested in their discussions is welcome to follow them. And we will take a quick 10-minute break. Okay, I will call the meeting back to order. And we will start with SUP 508 Butternut Investments, LLC.
All right. Does the county attorney have any other items we need to cover with regards to quasi-judicial? Okay. The applicant in this case is requesting a special use permit for a contractor's office, a contractor's yard, and vehicle sales in the Eastern Lincoln Development District overlay. This property is currently zoned light industrial, and that district also requires a special use permit for vehicle sales. The proposed site plan for this development shows an initial phase for the contractor's office in an existing structure. That structure was permitted as a residential structure, and so the intent would be to convert that structure. And then the contractor's yard would be located behind that, and a vehicle sales display area near the front property line. Future development phase on the site plan shows an office building with warehouse space along with the associated parking and loading areas for that. A little bit of brief context here. Back in 2019, this property was conditionally rezoned for that office building with warehouse space in it, with product storage, outdoor product storage behind it, and vehicle parking behind it. Our staff became aware several years later that the applicant was using this in a manner that was not consistent with the approved plan for that conditional rezoning. And so last year we had the rezoning case that resulted in this parcel being rezoned to industrial light. And now we're here for the next step, which is the special use permit for these uses. This is a 5.8 acre site located on the east side of NC 16 Business Highway, about 1,600 feet north of Webb's Road in Catawba Springs Township. It includes all of parcel 33243 and a portion of the parcel behind it, all of which is zoned that light industrial. The subject property is adjoined by property zone neighborhood business and residential single family, and land uses in this area include a mixture of industrial, business, and residential uses. This property is located in an area designated by the land use plan as industrial center, suitable for a variety of manufacturing, warehousing, and distribution uses. It's also worth mentioning, this property is located within the critical area of the Catawba River Lake Norman water supply watershed, which limits the density of non-residential development such as this to 24% impervious coverage under the low density option. If the applicant wanted to exceed that, then he would need to come back to this board with a plan with designed stormwater control measures in order to raise that 24% to 50% impervious coverage allowance. You have the applicant's proposed findings of fact in your packet, as well as their proposed site plan. I alluded to some of the elements there with regards to the existing building, the proposed future building, the outdoor storage, and the vehicle sales display area up front. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Does anyone have any questions for Jeremiah? I will now open the public hearing for SUP 508 Butternut Investments, LLC applicant. Please be aware with the SUP, you must be sworn in by the clerk before you address the board. So first on the list, I have Dean Fisher as the applicant.
Hello, Dean Fisher, 873 Coolwood Road, Lincolnton, North Carolina. I am the owner of Butternut Investments, and we are continuing operations that we were originally approved for in 2019. From my perspective, nothing has changed. We are just going along with the new regime at the planning and boarding, who has viewed the original one as the incorrect way it was approved, and so now we're just trying to make it right under today's standards and the way they're viewing. That's really all I got.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any questions for me?
Mr. Fisher, did you
Yeah.
prepare the proposed findings of facts that were submitted with your application?
I did.
And do you wish to incorporate those as part of your testimony?
Please.
Thank you.
questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next on the list, I have Lisa Martin.
Lisa Martin, 109 Shepherd Street, Gastonia, North Carolina, 28056, I'm sorry. I just work with Dean Fisher. I just want to prepare the documents that were submitted.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And then, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Emil? Okay.
Good evening. I'm Emil Naslund. I'm at 3727 Lennox Lane, right off of Webb's Road. And I just wanted to suggest that this may not be the best use of land there in that area. We need more probably grocery stores and other retail right there off of Webb's. There's plenty of homes there and people living there that could use some of those services instead of a contractor's yard. So that's all I had to say.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, with there being no additional speakers, I will declare the public hearing closed, and I will entertain a motion to approve the findings of fact as submitted by the applicant.
I make a motion to approve the findings of facts as submitted by the applicant.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. And now I will entertain a motion to approve SUP 508 Butternut Investments LLC based on the findings of fact.
I make a motion to approve SUP number 508 Butternut Investments LLC based on the findings of fact.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion is approved. Thank you. Now we will move to SUP 517, Quick Trip Corporation applicant, Jeremiah.
So we heard the rezoning proposal for this earlier this evening. This is a special use permit request for a gas station with convenience retail in the Eastern Lincoln Development District overlay. This is contingent upon the approval of that rezoning from earlier this evening. So just as a housekeeping item, there won't be any need for a final decision on this tonight. This application included a site plan for the proposed gas station, as well as a traffic impact analysis for the proposed development. The request involves a 2.76 acre site located at the northeast corner of NC 16 Business and Unity Church Road in Catawba Springs Township. Approximately 1.42 acres of the site is currently zoned neighborhood business, but proposed to be rezoned to general business, and the remainder is already zoned general business. Adjoining properties are zoned neighborhood business, general business, industrial, general, and residential single family. And land uses in this area include a mixture of industrial, business, residential, and civic uses. This property is located in an area designated by the land use plan as suburban commercial center, suitable for a variety of commercial uses. You have the applicant's proposed findings of fact in your packet, and again, along with their traffic impact analysis that was modeled and studied for the expected impacts from this development. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Do any commissioners have any questions for Jeremiah? Okay, I will now open the public hearing for SUP 517, Quick Trip Corporation applicant. Please be aware with a SUP, you must be sworn in by the clerk before you can address the board. And the first group to sign up is Rob Brown, J.D. Dudley, and Clay Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners again. Rob Brown, Jonas Law Firm, 1258 NC 16 Business. We went through the full presentation for the rezoning hearing earlier that we had, so I don't feel the need to do that unless you'd like me to do so. But I know you guys have a long night already. But I would request that that PowerPoint be incorporated into the record. I'd also like to state that my client, the applicant, did prepare those findings of fact, and we would like those to be incorporated into the record as well. And ultimately would ask that you eventually, in your next meeting in 2 weeks, that you would adopt those findings of fact and ultimately approve this SUP. Glad to answer any questions. Again, my client's still here, representatives from QT, and our traffic engineer.
Anyone have any additional questions for the applicant or his team?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list we have signed up is Martin Oates, representing a group. Yes.
Sorry, Mark. Can he speak for just a moment? Two quick points.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I know there was a lot said. I think everybody understands the constraints and the issues that people have with the traffic, but there were two things I really wanted to hit on that I felt are important. With our charitable contributions, so we actually, that 5% of our overall profit that we give is to the United Way. So all of that stays local. So we're not shipping money to Tulsa to help fund their schools. It all goes to the United Way, which is local help. The other thing I heard is having a sign that says the lot's full or showing the capacity of the actual beach. I don't think we would be opposed to a city sign on our property that would relay that information to individuals so that they don't have to make the trip down there. We could put it in a visible spot on our site so that they can see it and know before they drive down the road. But that is definitely something that's inside our wheelhouse of doing. And that's all I had.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So we,
Mr. Chairman, Board, Tim Holder, 2978 Lakeshore Road, South Denver, North Carolina.
are you speaking
I
independently or
will,
are you speaking
I
for
will
the group?
speak while he's handing out papers if you want me to.
Okay. I'm speaking for them. So you get 5 minutes.
Tim, have you been sworn in?
I have. I own the business across next to the Fairgrove Church shop, whatever that is, the jet ski power sports business that you guys are probably familiar with. And I've been there since 2006, so I did grow up in Lincoln County until I found out y'all changed the county line on my grandparents' house. But anyway, side fact. So my biggest concerns are safety, one. I watch traffic there every day. I can tell you, like clockwork, at 9 o'clock in the morning, the fire trucks and EMS are coming through. They can't get through because people are backed up in there. That road is backed up from the time 7:30 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. So there's safety issues. There's safety issues from my standpoint, from my customers who leave that building. As you all would be aware, my customers leave there with a trailer in tow. If you're pulling out onto 16 from that side of the road with a trailer, it's almost impossible to get in. Now, compound that by you've got an exit that's being built on the other side over there for entrance into the Quick Trip, as well as an exit coming out of that. And it's right across from the only entrance that will be once the road repairs are done between the Citgo shop and the business. So there's a major issue there. The other thing I want to make sure you guys are aware of, I work in the utility industry. Duke has moved those poles, but the pole service agreement, the attachment agreement that Duke has with AT&T and Spectrum, those poles are now owned by AT&T and Spectrum. You've got to wait on AT&T and Spectrum to come out there and pull those poles down. So if you think it's starting in April, you're wrong. Go ahead.
Martin Oaks, 8057 Lucky Creek Lane, Denver, North Carolina. Can I have the slideshow, please? There we go. Okay, you've got the old version here, guys, and you have the new version on your paperwork. So I'm going to have to go through this. Okay, so there was a very similar project in 2019, Circle K, and it was denied, and here are the findings of fact that were adopted by this board at that time. First of all, safety. As the road now stands, it's not safe. And then it will not meet the UDO requirements of the level of service of the intersection. Now, I went through, looked some TIAs, and I'm comparing some TIAs. One's the Circle K, and then the TIA for the Quick Trip here, and then a TIA for a Quick Trip in University City, Missouri. And then I found two more. I didn't get the TIA data in time for this presentation, but I found one in Little Grove, Illinois, and another one in Locust, North Carolina. and I found interesting things. If you look at the ITE, that's the official engineering code for land use 945, which is gas station with convenience store. It doesn't say with fast food too, it just says convenience store. And the AM peak number you see here is 105. And you see that Circle K's application had 216, and Quick Trip, the red one, in the current application is 128. So for some reason, Quick Trip's going to have a lot fewer trips than Circle K was going to have in 2019. Now, in Missouri, Quick Trip is saying 185. And these are all identical stores, same square footage within 10%, same number of pumps. The Missouri one is 185. The one in Little Grove, Illinois is 187. The one in Locust is 210. So the Quick Trip in the current application is lowballing other Quick Trip TIAs in this country and also the Circle K by a large margin. So that's a lowball thing. The other thing is there's a pass-by reduction thing. The pass-by reduction means if you say that 75% of the trips are pass-bys, that means the cars were going to go by there anyway. We don't count them going in and out. And so Circle K was saying 48%, and Quick Trip is saying 78, 75%. Now, Quick Trip's current application says similar stores, not ITE data, but similar stores. In Missouri, they say the same thing. It says the same thing in the other two I have. So this is just the morning peak. The afternoon peak is basically the same, a little bit different, but not much. So if you look at through all this data here.
Thank you, Martin. That's your 5 minutes.
Okay, you've got the presentation.
All right, thank you. And with there being no one else signed up to speak, I will now declare the public hearing closed. And I will entertain a motion to table SUP 517 Quick Trip Corporation applicant until February the 17th, 2025 meeting.
So moved, sir.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Cecina to table. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so SUP 517 has been tabled until February the 17th, 2025. And we will move on to SUP 521 Hills Chapel Methodist Church.
This is the last zoning hearing for this evening. You heard the rezoning proposal for this same property earlier this evening. A proposal to rezone this property to general business. And so since this application is contingent upon approval of that rezoning, we won't need any action following the public hearing on this one tonight, other than an entertainment to postpone a decision until the next meeting. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to permit a medical spa in the Eastern Lincoln Development District overlay. They are proposing to repurpose an existing structure on the property that had previously been used for church offices, and prior to that, it was used as the church parsonage. The Unified Development Ordinance classifies a medical spa as neighborhood service as a land use and requires approval by the Board of Commissioners as a special use permit in the ELDD. The 13-acre site is located at 988 South NC-16 Business Highway in Catawba Springs Township. Currently zoned RSF, proposed to be rezoned to general business. It is adjoined by property zoned industrial general, transitional residential, and planned development industrial. Land uses in this area include primarily industrial and residential uses, and the land use plan designates this area as single-family neighborhood. You have the applicant's proposed findings of fact in your packet, and there is no site plan associated with this since the proposal is to use the existing building, the existing driveway, existing parking. NCDOT may require some driveway improvements, some widening some paving for maybe the first 25 or 50 feet of the driveway. But nominally, no expected major changes to the site or the exterior of the building. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you have for me.
Anyone have any additional questions for Jeremiah? Okay, I will now open the public hearing for SUP 521 Hills Chapel Methodist Church. Applicant, please be aware that with a SUP, you must be sworn in by the clerk before you can address the board. So I have on the list to speak David Grice, or Donald Grice. If you would, please. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I just want to introduce the person who will be occupying. Her name is Julie Jetzer. I've already stated my name, but I can do it again.
If you would, please state your name.
My name is Donald Grice, 1127 Grice Road, Stanley, North Carolina, 28164.
Thank you.
And Mr. Grice, did you prepare the application and the proposed findings of facts that were submitted?
I took notes. We need the expert.
I'm sorry. I'm Gina Morgan, 6820 Hawks Nest Lane, Stanley, 28164. Per what I've been told, we're to request the PowerPoint be incorporated on the record, and that we would like to adopt the findings of facts and approve.
So who prepared the findings of fact?
Donald signed off on it. I signed off.
Okay, so you wish to incorporate those as part of your testimony?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't matter. We're just going to duly. We've already been through everything as far as what we're using it for. The building is already there. It's not a very sightly building. So the use that we're asking for is to refresh and make the Highway 16 corridor. I've heard people talk about that. That's an important part of this. And the goal here is to make that a nicer looking building and enhance that corridor. We also have Julie Jetzer, who is our proposed partner with the Med Spa, and she'd like to just talk to you guys about what the uses would be, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, that's fine.
With that, that's fine. Yep, she can come up. If you would state your name and address.
My name is Julie Jetzer. I reside at 5415 Little Parkway in Charles Ford.
And have you been sworn in?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I am a specialized massage therapist that does also corrective exercise. I've been practicing in Huntersville for 10 years. And as we all hear, the traffic is getting really bad. And I had the opportunity to take over the old pastor home at the church, where I can facilitate more of a true wellness center instead of just renting a room at a medical practice. I currently reside my office with Dr. Cami Benton, which is an integrated and functional medical provider. Her main office is in Huntersville, where I rent from, but she also has a second office here in Denver. When this gets approved and I'm able to open up the wellness center, she would be closing the office in Denver where she currently is on Old 16, where it's very congested, to out to the wellness center where it will be a little bit more ease to get her patients in and out safely. Another practice that is proposed to join me into this home is a herbalist. She is here tonight if you have any questions for her. The concept of this wellness center is not really a spa. The medical side is Dr. Cami Benton. I'm a massage therapist. I can treat, but I cannot diagnose, treat, cure anything. My goal is to help people feel better in their body through different techniques that specialize in the lymphatic system, which is our immune system, and also our nervous system. I'm a craniosacral therapist. One of my specialties is I work with newborn infants. My youngest is 4 days old, and my smallest was 4 pounds old, helping them to feed better and have a better nervous system. So as they grow and develop, they're happier in their little bodies. Another part of the practice is a second location for Lake Norman IV. She would be a perfect fit to be able to facilitate that upload of supplements IV after a lymphatic massage or red light therapy. There's going to be a combination of different machines and tools, but all of the appointments are going to be at least an hour and a half plus, so it's not going to be a revolving door type of wellness center. Everybody will be there. There will be, on my side, I will not be servicing more than 20 people a day, so they can have the quality of care that I'm trying to design. Dr. Benton is only going to be there 2 to 3 days, and she only sees 4 to 5 patients a day herself. And the IV is planning to be there only 1 day, servicing 1 to 2 people a day, because she does have another practice further down 16, closer to the 150. And Miss Karen here, her herbalist, is going to be there 1 day with classes on Saturday to serve as free or then paid classes for people to help themselves with herbs.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, thank you, ma'am. And next on the list is Michelle Bea.
Hi, I'm Michelle Boyce. I live at 5101 Burris Road in Denver. This is Micah Boyce, and him staying calm is a testament to Julie's work. She's worked on his nervous system. Myself and all 4 of my kids are patients of hers, and for years we've been driving to Huntersville to see her, which means we're getting gas in Huntersville and food in Huntersville, and we're sick of leaving Denver. We love it here. And it's really important to us that this wellness center is here. I think specifically, last year my 6-year-old was diagnosed with cancer, and we needed these treatments more than ever, because it's not just a spa. These actually prevented chemo from taking his life. The work she does is really incredible and allowed him to stay outpatient and be home with us. And he's doing great. He's doing great right now. It's really important medical work to supplement what we can get from the hospitals, and we don't have it in Denver right now. And families like us are driving all over the Charlotte area trying to get these services, and we should have it here. This town is growing so fast, and the desire is here. We want it here. We want to stay here, and we're just really hopeful that this works out because we love Julie, and she's been a real blessing to our family. That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With no one else signed up to speak, I will now close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion to table SUP 521 Hills Chapel Methodist Church applicant until February the 17th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Patton. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All right, so SUP 521 Hills Chapel Methodist Church has been tabled until February the 17th. Okay, now we will move into the public hearing for Industrial Incentive Grant, AAAA, John Dankoff.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Tonight it's my honor to come before you to present an request for a Lincoln County Industrial Incentive Grant. It was formerly listed in your packet as AAAA. The name of the company is Spantech. Spantech is located at 352 North Generals Boulevard, which is just right across the street here. Spantech manufactures metal sheeting, coils, and component parts. The incentive request is for construction of a 20,000 square foot warehouse addition, the installation of a new 10-foot expanded metal grading line, and a new stamping press. And then the agreement would read that on or before February 3rd, 2025, Spantech shall begin the construction of a building addition and equipment expansion. Within 2 years dated this agreement, Spantech shall make an investment in machinery and equipment expansion of $3,850,000, of which $3,205,000 will qualify for incentive on the Lincoln County Industrial Incentive Grant Policy. Within 2 years of the date of the agreement, Spantech will provide at least 4 new jobs, paying an average weekly wage of $1,000, including benefits. Then upon approval of this request, Once all this investment is completed and their taxes are paid, the county will provide $11,994.71 per year in grants after taxes are paid each year for a 5-year period after the project's completion. This is a level 2 incentive grant for this type of project, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for John? With no questions, I will open the public hearing for the Industrial Incentive Grant AAAA. And I have no one signed up to speak at this time, so I will now close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion to adopt the Industrial Incentive Grant for AAAA.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mullen. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimous. And thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
And we will move on to ordinance BOA number 4, Deanna Rios and Sheriff Bill Beam.
Good evening, Commissioners. We're here this evening to present to you a budget ordinance amendment number 4. It's a pretty standard budget amendment. I think the main part of this amendment is increasing Sheriff Department salaries. We're also recognizing some contributions and donations for DSS, for Animal Services, EMS. There's an increase in federal revenue for DSS, and we're recognizing the SHIP grant for senior services, and we are appropriating some federal forfeiture funds for part of a vehicle in the Sheriff's Department. There's also some state revenue that we're increasing for DSS, correcting some grants for some new amounts for the Health Department, and recognizing some proceeds of financing for the detention center expansion, and a transfer to Fund 55, which is our special revenue fund, and recognizing an insurance settlement for a water and sewer vehicle. And I am happy to answer any questions that any of you might have.
Does anyone have any questions for Deanna? I will entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve, sir.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Cecina. Any discussion? All in favor by indicating say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the resolution ordering Lincoln County Tax Administrator and Susan Sane.
Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. So I'm here this afternoon, or this evening, for General Statute 105-369. For the assessor is required to provide to the board the delinquent taxes for tax year 2024. We have approximately $3.9 million to collect. So we have collected about 96.5% so far. So I'm asking approval to advertise these delinquents in the local newspapers. In the past years, we have advertised in the Lincoln Times, the Denver Citizen, and the Herald. And we will do this advertisement sometime between March and June. Typically, it's in April. But I ask for your approval to do so.
Anyone have any questions?
As long as my name's not on the list.
So I didn't see your name on the list.
Pay your taxes.
I'm pretty sure my mortgage company did.
I have that list. If you would like to see it, I can send it to you.
No, ma'am.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adopt a resolution ordering Lincoln County Tax Administrator to advertise tax liens for 2024.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we will move on to FY 26-28 Work First Plan. Matthew Hillman and Rhonda Duckworth.
Hey, good evening, Commissioners. On November 27th, 2024, Lincoln County DSS was notified it was time to begin our county's planning for our county's triennial Work First plan. Over the last 2.5 months, our team has put in many hours with community stakeholders to develop the recommended plan in front of you. During the developmental stage and after review of our federal fiscal year 2023 through 2025 plan, it was obvious that our county's plan is currently working, and it's meeting the needs of our citizens. Over the last 3 planning cycles, we've seen a decrease in our Work First caseloads, which in turn has allowed us to reinvest unspent cash assistance into our child welfare programs. Our team correlated the decrease into a couple of factors. First, during and now in the post-pandemic phase, there's been many programs and funds available to families that they could access when they were in need. Also, many of our services were under waivers that allowed our citizens to continue to receive support beyond normal recertification periods. We are unsure how the ending of these waivers will impact the participation, but we'll continue to monitor for adjustments in our next planning cycle. Secondly, Lincoln County's Tier 3 assignment displays a strong economic base, and we believe that these 2 factors, along with other inputs, have impacted the caseload sides in our Work First plan, or the amount of recipients that we have receiving right now. Taking all this into consideration, our team held planning sessions with designated partners on January 7th, 2025. And during our meetings, there were many positives that were discussed about our plan. There were 2 recommendations from this meeting that we did implement into this new plan. First, our agency is developing a process to provide informational flyers to distribute to employers, industrial representatives, and Work First contacts about our Work First program and for child care assistance. Secondly, we updated our budget section to more accurately reflect current caseload spending, and after making these changes, we believe that this plan will meet the needs of Lincoln County and our citizens. In closing, I'd like to thank all the DSS staff, community partners, stakeholders, and designated partners who participated in development of this plan. And at this time, I would ask that the Lincoln County Board of County Commissioners to approve the Lincoln County Work First Family Assistance County Plan for federal fiscal years 2026 through 2028.
Okay, anyone have any questions? I will entertain a motion to approve FY 26 through 28 Work First Plan as presented.
Move we approve.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Patton. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it is passed.
Thank you, Matt, for what y'all did.
Matthew, before you run off, you know that my wife's a guardian ad litem and works with your folks regularly, and she has nothing but the highest praise for your folks, that she really enjoys working with them and their professionalism, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. I'm blessed to have a great team. I said that in December, and I'll continue to echo that on whoever asks. I'm blessed to work here and blessed to have a great staff, and thank you guys for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we will move on to award of construction phase service contract for Riverbend Water and Sewer Extension Project. John Henry.
John shaved his beard.
Wow, John.
Sorry, guys. John Henry couldn't be here today, so I'm here to present the construction phase services contract.
Okay.
This is a contract for construction phase services. It includes everything from construction observation to the admin, shuffling of paperwork, stuff like that, and then also the record drawings after we finish the project, so that we can keep good records on that water line and that sewer line, pump station and force main. This is in conjunction with the award of the Fuller contract for the actual construction of the lines. So it is $1,009,000 in construction phase services from McGill Engineering. Do you guys have any questions for this contract?
I do, just briefly. So there were some cost overruns at some point, were there not? That we got a certain amount of money from the state, but they're going to be overruns. We're not going to pay for that. Somebody else is going to pay for that, right?
That is inside the agreement for the Riverbend project. We were inside that agreement. It was the developer who was going to pay for any overruns. Of course, that construction phase contract came in at 21 million and some change. I think we took out some things in the contract, all total with the easement acquisition and these services that our engineer is providing, and then the construction contract, we were up at 22.5 million.
So the contractor's going to cover that other $1 million or so?
The developer is working on bonding or having that money in a bank account somewhere for those overruns. We are also going back to the state through the developer for those additional funds. Whether we get them or not, the developer will pay for.
So we are looking forward to the state funding as well?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
And just to add to that, I'm working with Riverbend's council, and we are drafting a assurance agreement, basically, to figure out how we're going to assure that these funds are there. So that should be finalized this week.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve award construction phase services contract for Riverbend Water and Sewer Extension.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Carpenter. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioners. Okay, now we will move to public comments. Next, we'll allow the citizens to address the board concerning any matters. Let me remind you that if you would, when you step to the podium, give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to speak or 5 to speak for a group. And I have no one signed up to speak. So I will close the public comments, and we will move to item number 10, finance report. Deanna?
Good evening again, Commissioners. Tonight I am bringing to you the finance report for November of 2024, which is activity for 42% of the year. As you can see, the first piece we always look at is our interest in the general fund. Through November, we have allocated $419,000 to the general fund itself. Other interest was allocated to the other operating funds. We do have $1.2 million in the pooled interest account that will be distributed to the various funds this month. We have balanced through November, the November bank statement, so now we can distribute the rest of that. We've budgeted $1.8 million this year in the general fund interest revenue account. Due to the higher rates we've received over the last couple of years. We will probably not receive the same amount of interest this year as we have the last couple of years because interest rates are about 100 basis points lower than they have been the past couple of years. They're still good, but they're not over 5 anymore. Ad valorem taxes budgeted for the fiscal year are $88.9 million. Tax collections through November are almost $72 million, mainly due to the discount. And we did collect quite a bit in December. Sales taxes for fiscal year 25. So far, we have received over $9.5 million for the first 3 collection months. Total revenues in the general fund are at 62%. Expenditures are at almost 39%. Utility fund revenues are at 42.5%, and expenses are at 40%. Solid waste fund revenues are at 79%, again, because of the fee that's on the tax bills. When the tax bills are paid, that fee is paid too. And expenses there are a little over 33%. As you know, the audit has been submitted to GFOA. All the related securities disclosures have been made on Emma. And now we are in the middle of working on the budget for fiscal 26. Are there any questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you, Deanna.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to number 11, adjustment to salary of Lincoln County Sheriff, David Madden.
Thank you, Chairman. So tonight I'm bringing an action item before the board. As you know, based on the budget ordinance amendment that you just approved, which related to a salary increase for the sheriff's office, the sheriff is not included in that. So pursuant to general statute, the Board of Commissioners sets the salary for the elected officials under their purview, which would be the sheriff and the Register of Deeds. So this adjustment here is to go in line with the prior budget ordinance amendment, and therefore I'm requesting that the board consider and approve a salary increase for the sheriff at 12%. His current salary is $151,936.20. The new salary would be $170,168.54.
Okay, any discussion? I will entertain a motion to adjust the salary of the Lincoln County Sheriff to $170,168.54.
So moved, sir.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Gentlemen, thank you.
All right, we will move to number 12, other business. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time? We're not. Okay. All right, so no other business. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion made by Commissioner Carpenter to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are now adjourned.